Hello, everybody. Welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like. Trying to hit 50K subscribers over here, so that subscription would be much appreciated. It has been a while since I have uploaded frequently here. I apologize for that. I intended to pre-record a bunch of videos before my vacation, but I did not manage to pull that off. In fact, of some of the pre-recorded videos I did over on Rusty Buckets, what is the second channel, the main channel, whatever the hell you want to refer to it as, kind of rushed out the top 10 player prediction video and had a huge oversight there. Now, I don't mean to suggest that I just outright forgot about LeBron James. Rather, I think I was just overly critical based on a somewhat false perception of him based on the playoffs. And of course, there is also a predictive element in all of this. So I want to talk about why LeBron not only did not make my predicted top 10, but also I don't even think top 15. I will change that because I don't think that was correct. I did think about him when I was making the list. Obviously, he's right next to Luka when you got to factor him in. And I just felt off of the playoffs that he played against the Minnesota Timberwolves that LeBron was probably going to be worse this next coming season. And the reality is I kind of just had a false perception of that series. I went back and watched two of his games from that. The first one being the one where he just went the fuck off. I think he had nearly 40 points and like hit damn near every shot that he took. And then I also watched game 1, game 2. I don't know. My big thing was I didn't feel like his defense held up that much, and that was just not true. His defense was pretty damn great in that series, so I don't know where that came from. I was correct that his overall shooting in that series, and specifically if you just remove that one game where he went off, he was having trouble there, but I definitely let that factor into my ranking a little bit too much. I've always found LeBron, post him just being obviously the best player in the NBA, kind of hard to rank. Like from like 2021 onward, he hasn't been like conclusively the best player in the NBA. There was plenty of people who were willing to crown it Kawhi in 2019. In fact, I believe I did that as well. But for the most part, for most of my entirety of consuming the sport of basketball, or at least the NBA specifically, LeBron James has been the best player on the planet, and he's also obviously not as good as he once was. His athleticism is not quite there. His defense has not been particularly consistent. You really started to see him pick that up towards the latter half of the season when Luka was there. It was kind of like this like rejuvenated thing with him where it felt like he believed in the prospect of them actually competing for a championship, and that motivated him to play harder on that end. A lot of people give LeBron shit for not really trying on defense consistently. I think it's a little unfair because the dude is literally 41, but I was also holding that against him when it wasn't even particularly true. I guess I was just a little too negative on them, a little too sour on them, in part because heading into that series, I did predict them to beat the Timberwolves, and I got a lot of shit for it, and I was flagrantly incorrect. So maybe a little bit of sourness there because of that as well. And then, of course, like I said, there is the predictive factor in this, and LeBron is going into the season at either he's going to be 41 or I think he's a February birthday. Is he already 41? Is he turning 42? Is he 40 turning 41? Whichever it is, based on this false sour taste in my mouth, based on something that I guess made up in my head, plus the fact that he's getting older, I felt like he would not eclipse that top 10. However, there are some names that I put over him in my outside of the top 10 that I definitely think LeBron is probably still better than, and I was definitely tripping in that regard. That is not correct. I was wrong. I apologize for that. I rushed it. It's not because I have Rich Paul paying me off, believe it or not, because for some reason, when you say positive things about LeBron on the internet, there is like an assumption that there's this giant, I don't know, media conspiracy to praise LeBron. As of yet, I have gotten paid $0 by Rich Paul or whatever the hell their organization is called, Clutch Sports, I think. I'll happily take it. just hasn't happened yet. But I don't know. I kind of go back and forth between being perceived as a LeBron hater or a LeBron stan. It's a very interesting thing to experience the back and forth on, but I fully understand, especially for people who have not seen me talk about LeBron in the past, that it just came off on some real hater shit, and it was more just a bad calculation on my part. If I believe something and everyone tells me I'm wrong about it, I will examine it, and I still am so damn stubborn that I will come back to, no, I still feel that way. But in this case, I was like, yeah, I don't know why I dismissed LeBron so much. I, at the very, very least, should have mentioned him and my stance in that video, but I didn't. That was stupid. So yeah, again, apologies on that front. I'm going to real quick go through my list just to see where exactly I would place him. Yeah, so I had him not, I ranked a top 17, and he was not in the 7 players after the top 10. The other thing I do want to highlight is I saw a good amount of people saying that LeBron is better than Kevin Durant and Steph. I can't really quite agree there, but I understand at least Steph. I feel weird being in this position where I'm defending Kevin Durant of the best of those old guys, but he is the youngest of them, although I don't think there's that big of a difference between him and Steph age-wise. But to me, he's the most like, his game survives aging the best, because like Steph, he's a step slow. He does not have the same ability to create off of the dribble that he did a couple of years ago. And, you know, he's just not quite the athlete he was. You don't even realize how big of a difference there is athletically in Steph now versus then, because he just, if you watch like 2016 Steph or 2020 Steph, dude just moves a whole lot differently than he does now. Kevin Durant, I think the reason his game is the most reliable and consistent between these 3 older guys is because he just always has that mid-range game to fall back on. And like, you could argue that it's not the most efficient way to score the ball, but like LeBron has become more jumper centric himself, not getting to the rim as much, not getting to the line as much. And the thing with that is, while LeBron is leaps and bounds a better shooter than he was at earlier stages of his career, he can be inconsistent. He can have his games where he really struggles to shoot the ball. I remember that being the case towards the start of this season. There was a whole bunch of conspiracies, again, because it's LeBron. There's always a bunch of conspiracies about him like going away somewhere and then getting injected with a bunch of roids. I'm not going to get into that shit, but he was definitely much better after that point. And in this playoff series against Minnesota, it just felt like the jumper was not super trustworthy a lot of the way. But again, I read into things a little bit too hard there, and you shouldn't factor in 5 games over a full season where, yes, LeBron did score the least amount of points per game of his career since literally his rookie season, but it's not by some wide margin. It's 1.7 or 1.3 points less than last year, just 0.6 points less than the 25 that he averaged before that, or not before that, but before his 30 point per game season in 2022, which is something that I think it's undermentioned. I cannot believe that shit. I also couldn't believe just how great his stock numbers were from that playoff series. He averaged 1.8 blocks and 2 steals per game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So his defense was there and his scoring was still there, mostly carried by a really, really excellent game where he went the fuck off, but otherwise kind of struggled shooting the ball. Also, he does not have as much of a playmaking responsibility now that Luka is there. He averaged 8 assists for the season, but I'm willing to bet you it was much higher pre-Luka versus post. But I do think that Durant is better. Steph, it might just be me being like a Steph Curry stan. I'll give myself that. I just feel like with Steph, Kevin Durant has the thing that he can always rely on with that mid-range game. Steph has the gravity factor that I trust to always be present. And of course, the three-point shooting, where LeBron is consistently good, but it's often in different ways. And I don't know. That's just the reason that I find him hard to rank. I think because he's as old as he does, when I consider the LeBron on his worst day versus LeBron on his best day these days, I kind of lean more towards the worst day being a more accurate depiction, because I just expect the 41-year-old to start being worse. But LeBron's also a fucking alien, and he keeps being good. So yeah, I should not have ranked him him. Not even in the top 17. I would say probably I could place him right here at 11 because a lot of people also pointed out that like ranking Joel Embiid and Zion over him when they've both been entirely unhealthy. I get that. Paulo, would I be shocked if Paulo was better than LeBron this upcoming year? No, but you know, LeBron was better than AD when they were both on the same team, and I ranked Anthony Davis over him. Again, that's probably a little bit predictive of the age thing, but yeah, LeBron, I don't know that he's top 10. I predicted Ant, Brunson, and Victor being in this top 10. I do feel pretty confident in them being over LeBron, and then of course the usual names of Jokic, Giannis, Shea, and Luka. Devin Booker was also a very controversial placement on this list, and I don't think I explained that one properly enough, so let me do that real quick. When I was doing this list, it was specifically predicting the quality of the season and not necessarily where they would strictly rank afterwards. Where, as an example, was Russell Westbrook a top 3 player in 2017? I don't think so. I still think Steph was better than him, and then you could put LeBron and Kevin Durant over him as well. But Steph didn't have a better season than Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant didn't have a better season than Russell Westbrook. James Harden arguably did, and I don't know if I would have had James Harden as a top 3 player that year either. The quality of your season is not strictly defining where you actually rank in the NBA, and my logic with Devin Booker is that I think he's in a primed position to just have a career year, to put up over 30 points per game, and if he manages to do that while also keeping the Phoenix Suns afloat at the very least at a play-in tier in the West, then that could be enough to propel him over names of players that I think are actually better than him, but he would be having a better season than them. I hope that makes sense. I don't like that the first video I'm doing back feels so making excuses, but truly I was just bad take, very bad take. LeBron is, I'll say, 11th in the NBA right now. And I don't know. We'll see how this year goes. Maybe I end up being right and the age finally hits him, but it has not yet. And I typically have said not to bet against LeBron for the age factor, so I really shouldn't do it now. I don't know. Like I say all the time, I am just a guy and said something stupid. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.